Hello, all, and welcome to the Fantasy and Sci-Fi Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Dana Coolbaugh. I have with me a very special returning guest, Marisa Wolf. Marisa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm like losing my voice. I was yelling at too many children today.
I was gonna say end of the school year, man. It's like con voice, honestly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's actually, it makes me feel better. Actually, yeah, it is. I actually had, it's so funny you mentioned that because I'm like trying to think of who I interviewed last year. It was like season two, and they had come back from Dragon Con.
Mm.
So we had moved our interview to like 5 days after,
Oh
but it did not help even like 13 days
no.
after traffic.
No, it's like you need a full week, like maybe three. I don't know.
Yeah,
It takes a while. Yeah.
yep, yep, yep. It was really wild. So I thought that was really funny. But and that's why I always call it my coach's voice because my wife, like between that's what I used to do, especially in the fall, like because like I'm loud, like and then I was like doing soccer or doing volleyball or something, and
Hmm.
gym's loud, and then if you're on a soccer field, it's
Yeah, you
a
gotta
pretty
be
big deal,
direct. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So by the end, I'm like, especially with teaching too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My brother was one day, he's like, you sound like Gollum on the phone. I'm like, I can
Look,
definitely see that.
it happens. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Completely justified.
Yeah, 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 totally. Well, I just want to remind our audience, that we had a previous interview with one of your co-authors, Casey Azell.
Yes.
So I have that link that will also be down in the description. You can find Marisa's links as well below. So just make sure you guys click on those. We had a blast for that interview. I can't wait to have all three of you. We'll have a really good time really soon. I'm like seriously still waiting on my summer schedule.
I understand. Yeah, the multiple jobs. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I had a bunch of like 10 people ask me, and I was like, I am just like, I'm like, you guys are good. I'm like, I thought it was gonna be like 12:30, 3:30. I'm like, I don't know.
Mm.
Like, I'm like, we'll see. But yeah, I can't wait for that. But audience, please check that out. We got to learn about both of their a lot of their solo things, but then
Mhm.
also, like I said, co-authored books, upcoming projects, things like that. Some of that will, be similar to things we talk about today, which is Marisa. So that's fine. But we had a great time. I learned a lot. So please check that out. But for those people that, weren't with us for that first interview,
Yep.
again, you guys could just pause and,
Go check it out.
correct, yeah, correct that mistake. And then check out all their channels too.
Yeah.
What has your writing journey been like up until this point?
Fun question. So I got started in the world of fan fiction. I wrote fan fiction about Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Pern for 20 something years, lots of years. It's how I met Casey. So if you've already gone back and watched that episode, then you know the details. But basically, one year, Casey was like, you know what? I'm gonna get published. I'm gonna do my own stuff and I'm going to get published. And there were many steps to that. Again, Casey will tell that story better than I would. But she did it in the same way that like Casey sets goals and hits them all the time. And then she got this opportunity with Chris Kennedy Publishing, and she sent me a short story that she had written. And it was awesome. And I was doing a lot of alpha reading for her at that point. So she's like, what do you think? Totally normal question. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so great. Like, I love this thing. This part was really great. This thing is cool. She's like, yeah, cool, cool, cool. Do you want to write a novel about it with me? Like, what do you say yes? I mean, you say yes
Yeah,
to that
yeah,
question.
yeah.
But it was like panic, yes, panic, 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 panic. And then then we wrote Assassin, which was an incredible experience. I am really proud. We did a trilogy and an anthology with those characters. They're aliens that look like cats. They are cat assassins. You're welcome. They're delightful.
So
Um,
cool.
yeah, oh my gosh, I loved it so much. We had so much fun. So I did that, and almost every opportunity that came across my plate, I said yes to, and then I worked really hard because it was you know how this goes, working a full-time job that took a lot of time. But I said yes to literally everything that came across my plate, and it led to more opportunities because I thankfully did not say yes to things I couldn't do. So yes, it's a very important lesson. Um, and yeah, got things done, got a solid reputation built. So I got more opportunities, and I wrote a bunch of co-authored novels, which we talk about a lot on the last podcast with Daniel. And had such a great time, learned so much from each of my co-authors. And my debut solo sci-fi novel came out last year, and my very first solo fantasy novel will come out this year. Now we're all caught up.
uh I still just like it's funny because like Melissa and I talked too about like Anne McCaffrey and when I went back like her and I talked so if anybody hasn't checked out my interview with Melissa, please go check that out. That's like this current week. Rise and Ruins coming out literally, yeah, thank you so
Like,
much, June 3rd. So it'll be a
yep.
little bit in the past by now, but please check that out. But it's so funny because we talked a lot about that, and for me like I never really thought to do fan fiction. And but like I was writing stuff that I think really could have been considered fan fiction. So I
Sure,
don't know
yeah.
why when the three of us talked and then I talked to Melissa separate, I was like, oh, I started thinking about it in between. I'm like, I was kind of writing like Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance, like fan fiction,
Yeah.
And like that's really what it was. And then when I was in high school and stuff, and then when I went to college, I was going to be an illustrator, and then I was going to do like some sort of minor in creative writing or whatever.
Mhm.
Switch after a little while because they just didn't have digital art, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I'm, my students are always teasing me, like, you're so old. I'm like, I'm really not, but like they had digital art, but just not at the school I
Wasn't
was
the
at.
same.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but I we did like a really cool like book for one design class, and it was like an alphabet book, and I was like, can I just do my own fantasy world? I was like, I had all this earlier
Oh,
stuff and they like transformed it. But like it's so funny because there's like when I was talking to Melissa, I was like realizing there were like several characters from Dragon Rise Pern that I was like, oh, like it's like my Griffin Rider is really like this character, so it's so funny because I was like, oh, maybe I was writing Dragon Rise of Pern,
yeah.
fan fiction, and didn't even know it. So we kind of had I had that breakthrough during that interview. Yeah, and I don't know, it was just kind of cool, but
That
it
is
kind of
cool.
made me feel like I was in the fan fiction club because I was like, I did write fan
Yeah, yeah.
fiction, but
Join the fan fiction club.
yeah, well, I just want to point out for our audience because a lot of people that I talked to, Sienna Frost, she
Yeah,
wrote, her and I talked about fan fiction
yeah,
quite a bit. I know there's like so many authors I've talked to about it.
yeah.
You guys can just watch all my episodes and you can
I
find the
mean,
fan
might as
fiction.
well, guys. It's great.
But yeah, I don't know, it's just always so cool. Like Jay Swift and I talked a lot about like fan fiction. And I don't know, I think, and we talked about it with Casey. I
Mhm.
think that, it really gives you, because you're established in the world, you
Mhm.
know what's going on with a magic system, whether it's Star Wars and it's sci-fi fantasy, or if
Yeah.
it's Dragon Riders and sci-fi. Some of you might think it's fantasy, it's sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Those blew my mind a few years ago when I
I
found that out.
know, right?
Right? Yeah.
True.
But I think I saw a few people knocking it a few years ago. And I was like, don't knock fan fiction until till you write it and read it. Because I've read a
Yeah.
lot of really good fan fiction, particularly for
Yes.
Star Trek, Blade Runner. You know how it is. Like,
I
yeah, all
do.
sorts of
Yeah.
cool stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I've read a lot of Star Wars fan fiction that has just been like, and some of those people have actually gotten
Right?
published the last like 5 or 6 years, which
Right?
is pretty crazy.
It's
So I
really
think it's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
But you made a good point there too, not just about fan fiction, but about like, and I talked about this with like Ta Wong, and we talked about like accepting those new opportunities. But I
Mhm.
like how you have that addendum of like that I could handle. So
Uh-huh.
I just love that because I think some people I know try to do everything and they're not
Hmm.
quite there yet.
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and I think that's like, I just want to point out for audience, I think that's a really good addendum. So like, I had some people where they're like, I probably can't write a whole nother novel, on my own if somebody wants me to. Like I had somebody approach me recently and was like, hey, I really like your urban fantasy. What do you think about pitching it to my company? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it sounds great,
Yes.
but I don't want to share 50-50 with these characters and worlds. Like I will do
Yeah.
something else,
Yeah.
but like my gut was like, give them one or your other like 100, things you have
Yes.
prepped.
So many other things.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And nothing against them. This is my baby.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
get that.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, and I have like a certain direction, and I have all these things like ready to go, and I just don't really want like another person in the head. And I have my
That's
alpha
fair.
team. I got Sarah Torn, like I mean, I feel like I have a really good team. I got a whole team of beta readers like ready to go.
Yeah.
But if I was in a different spot though, like you were saying, or if it was like a different circumstance, like if somebody
Mhm.
this summer was like, "Oh, will you do an anthology like KCSU?" I'd be like, "I'm ready for an anthology." So I
Yes.
just want to point that out. I think that would be that's some of the greatest advice I've heard this season is like, you know, do it, but make sure you can do it. So I think
Make sure
that
you can
is,
do it. Yeah.
yeah. But like, where did you gain that confidence where like, I can do like anything that you picked up? Like, were you selective of, or just happened to be, things came around that you felt you were ready for? Like, was it just kind of luck? Like, I'm just kind of curious, like how you kind of like went through that process of like, I can do this, and then kind of like went about it.
Yeah, it was a lot of luck. It was a lot of like the first couple opportunities. So doing Assassin with Casey meant that I did a short story in that world to kind of prove my chops to both the publisher and the creator of the universe, Chris Kennedy and Mark Wandry, but then also to the readers, like so they would take
Mm.
a chance on the book, right?
Yep.
And then I passed that in on time. I took my edits. I was very responsive. I was very responsible. And so when another anthology came up, I was asked again, which was amazing, and I said yes. And again, I passed it in early. I was responsive to edits. I answered all questions, and so I was every single opportunity I got, and that often still happens to this day. I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. But it was really like, can I get it done by this deadline? Then damn it, I will be good enough for this. So even if it means I have to send it to people and get my heart broken because it's not quite good enough yet, to give myself time. And then I got into a little run of I said yes to things I could do, but so many things with a full-time job that
Yeah.
I was passing things in like the hour it was due. But still by the deadline. So
Still counts. Still counts.
still totally counts. But less passing in early and more passing in like, oh, is it due on Sunday? Cool, here it is at 11:59. Still Sunday. No time zone you're in, but here it's still Sunday.
5 o'clock. So it's 11 a.m. somewhere, 11 p.m. somewhere, right? Like you would be ahead there, right? So that's totally
Yes.
fine.
Yeah. And my first opportunity to do a Bane anthology was in Michael Z. Williamson's Freehold universe.
Okay.
Um, and he had somebody drop out kind of last minute. And so there was an opportunity, somebody who was already, I think it was Casey, I don't know, like Casey was already in the anthology. And she was like, hey, my friend, she's new, but like she's really, really good. And he's like, well, she can send me something and I will look it over. And so I sent him one of my like three short stories at the time. And he like, bless him, he read it really quickly and he wrote back, he's like, yeah, I like the prose. Like there's some things we could tighten, but I could work with this. Which was incredibly kind. And he did. He was so kind. And his co-editor on the project, Jamie Ibsen, is an incredibly thoughtful editor. So my first draft went to Jamie first. And Jamie was like, hey, fun fact, your story starts or ends right when it gets interesting. I was like,
Oh.
oh, well, that's not good. So I rewrote it, made it more interesting. And he was exactly right. And that's the kind of advice you have to be ready for when
Yeah.
you're writing. And that is a common flaw with short stories. Like they're not a first chapter. They should not be the intro to your novel. Like every word has to count, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
his advice was so helpful. And so when I turned in my next first draft to Mad Mike, he was like, "This is the best first draft I've ever seen." And I was like, "The secret is it's not a first. It is the second." Yikes! I needed a lot of help, but thank you. Yeah, and I guess the confidence too comes from like you will know this. I got through my first year of teaching. Like I think when you survive your first year of teaching middle school, you know that
Yep.
you can do anything.
True that. Yep.
Just
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
keep going. So
Yep.
that's basically how I do. Like I've done hard things before. I can do hard things. Just use your resources. Make sure you have the time for it, and be willing to learn. It's my big three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's where feedback comes in. Like I had like Logan Darren's was like, "Can I just give you feedback?" I go, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't
Yeah.
have time. I don't have time to sit around." So he was like, I was like, "Just shoot it to me straight." And my best friend, he read one of my other like just like an intro for like a book I'm trying to finish, like a fantasy, and it's a heist. It's a fantasy heist. True
Yeah.
one, not a Mistborn, but a true heist. No offense. I was really disappointed. I like, but a true heist. But like, he was like, "This is crap."
Oh no. You're like, no.
And yeah, and I was like, he liked my first one. I was like, "Oh, I had this different idea," and he's like, "It's crap." But I liked like Logan Aaron's gave me really good feedback. Like
Mhm.
H.L. Tinsley at college, she's like, "Can I just be honest?" And it's funny they said the same thing. And then
Yeah.
Sarah gave me the edits and feedback for chapter one, and same thing. So, but it was really nice, like and then J.R. Wise, when I give him my first, when I give him the my fifth draft, he's gonna help me
Mhm.
fix a lot of the Marine stuff and military stuff, but
Nice.
make it feel more authentic and just get the jargon right. And plus just have like he's just I love his eyes on stuff, but
Nice. Yeah.
it's just like he said the same thing. He goes, "Can I just give you? Can I just be straight?" And I'm like, "Please." So I
Please
feel
do.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like most people can't accept the feedback, right? Or they take it personal or whatever. And I'm like,
Mhm.
like I just want to make it better. I think that does come from teaching though, for myself personally, because I'm like people come in and I know this has probably been developed over years. Like I'm sure at first I would have been like, "No, I'm not changing that." Now I'm like, just I had a unannounced observation the other day, and I'm about to go and talk to my principal about it. And I'm
Mhm.
literally like, just show me what I got. I'll sign
Yeah.
it, and then you just tell me how to make it
What to
better.
do better. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is like just listening to people that know more than you. And I don't know, at this point, I'm just used to it. So I feel like for me, I feel like it's an easy transition into publishing.
Mhm.
Like I'm used to getting torn apart by children daily.
Right?
Like
They will tell you.
yeah.
They will tell you the truth. They will, what occurs to them in the moment, they will tell you.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. So I'm like, you can't hurt my feelings at this point.
Mhm. I mean, to be fair, my feelings can still be hurt, but I also am grown up enough to be like, all right, well, and now I've sucked it
That's
up and
fair.
I'm ready to do something with
Yeah, yeah. That's probably a better way to put it.
it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm still very fragile, but I can work.
That's funny. So in terms of genres, what genre or genres do you currently read in and why?
Wahaha. So I always describe it as science fiction and fantasy, like all the little corners I can get my hands into. I love speculative fiction. I love the what if. It can be science heavy. I can do a little hard science as long as like it makes sense in my brain, which some things do and some things don't. I'm probably more of like a space opera kind of science person.
Mm.
And then with fantasy, I just love magic and dragons, you guys. So it's really everything like urban fantasy, yes. Military sci-fi, yes. Actiony sci-fi, yes. Space opera sci-fi, yes. Like whatever I can get my hands on. I'm a nerd and I love writing nerd things and they give me joy and I will continue to write all the little pieces that occur to me. So
I agree. It's just
yeah.
better. Someone asked me like, "Are you gonna write about?" I go, "No." I'm like, the amount of like real life crap that I've had to deal with my
Oh my.
kids recently. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, why would I want to consume it or write it? I'm like,
Mhm.
that's my life. I want to escape it even when I'm writing. So, yeah. So I totally get that.
All
For more
speculative
just
all the time. That's fine.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's totally true. And I don't know. There's been so many times where I don't know, like I look back and I'm like, well, growing up, there's like I felt like there was always even like adventure movies, right?
Mhm.
There was still some sort of supernatural or I don't know something. I don't know. There's always a little something, right? Or something was spooky.
Something. Yeah.
It's always something that's a little fantastical. So I don't know. I think all the best things were like that. Maybe it's because I grew up on like Pirates of Dark Water, G.I. Joe, like you name it, right?
Nice.
Like
Yeah.
something had the fantastical elements in it, right? Silverhawks, all those things. So it was the best time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So yeah, I definitely agree. It's just better. No offense to anybody else, but
I know.
it's
Enjoy what you enjoy, but yeah, give me the magic, give me the far future, give me the stuff. Yeah.
yep. Yeah, totally. I agree. Well, speaking of the magic, God, I love your cover. So what is your book, A Plague of Magic, about, and how'd you
Mhm.
come up with this idea?
Yes. So A Plague of Magic is about an aging group of thieves who decide they don't want to be thieves anymore. They're trying to go straight. And
So
they
cool.
find, yeah, they find the score of a lifetime. Um, and it has a lot of consequences. So things go horribly, horribly wrong. So I love the tagline I can't take any credit for it. The tagline on the cover is a big score, a little dragon, and a whole lot of trouble.
It's
And I
awesome.
freaking love it so much. And yeah, that's the book. That's the book. So Seema and her crew slash family find fabulous treasure and events pursue persist from there, I guess. And I came up with the idea, it was like a four-part process. So part one, have you heard of the Cheapside Hoard in real life?
No.
So in the early 1900s in London, a bunch of contractors were working on tearing down a house to make room for new neighborhoods because London, it grows.
Yeah.
And what they found buried in the basement was a hoard, basically, from the 1600s. It was a goldsmith it had been a goldsmith's house many, many, many years ago, and all they can imagine is that he buried all of his work before he fled one of the civil wars.
Yeah.
And so they found it. These contractors like found freaking pirate treasure, basically, split it amongst themselves super quietly, super peacefully. No one got murdered. Everything was great. And they went out and had a wild night of drinking.
Hmm.
So the man who I believe became the patron of the British National Museum um, heard about it. Like I just picture somebody like bursting into a study late at night, like there's treasure in Cheapside. And so he goes out, he rounds up all of the treasure. We don't know. It fully changed how they thought about trade routes because there were like jewels from deepest Amazon in South America that were in settings from the Ottoman Empire. Like it was
Oh,
wild.
wow.
They had no idea. They were like, we didn't even know people were making these trades yet.
Yeah.
And it was like clearly established trades too, based on the
Yeah.
quality of the stuff. And it's gorgeous. I like fell into this rabbit hole. I was on a deadline for another project. And I fell into this rabbit hole of just like looking at pictures of the jewelry and reading about it, and it was amazing. And it just kind of lived in the back of my head because again, I was on a deadline. Um, and then at some point I realized that the treasure was obviously magic. So, and it's not London at all. I really prefer second world fantasy when I'm writing. I love to read, well, I love urban fantasy too. But if we're talking magic, I love it to be somewhere else. Like it's not, what if we always had it? And so now we're in London, which magical London, super cool, but not what I was going for.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, okay, magic treasure, different world. Okay, cool. Then that lived in my brain. And then Seema showed up in my brain. She had a name, she had a personality. I knew who she was. And I was like, okay, somehow these are all going to go together. And then part four, I had the opportunity to write the book. And so I wrote the first page. Actually, before I had the opportunity to write the book, I wrote the first page and I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I went to Superstars and took a class with Jonathan Mayberry about like superstar first pages, basically. And
Yeah.
I was so inspired by everything he said. He was just so clear and helpful and thoughtful. Unsurprising for anybody who has read a Jonathan Mayberry book. And I rewrote the page, I don't know, probably at the end of the class, like before I even went to do anything else. And then that night, Superstars had a first page party where you could read the first page of a project and
That's
people
cool.
will give you feedback.
Yeah.
And so I read it and people were pumped. Like they were so excited about it. And I was like, oh dang, I think I have something here. So in the first page, this is not a spoiler. It is like in the first sentence, Seema gets eaten by a house. Like she is scavenging and the floor just caves in and she falls into a basement. She's a concussion through the whole first chapter, as you do. Um, and
Been there.
it's just, yeah, right. And so that book lived in my head for probably 4 years, all told.
Oh, wow.
Um, and so I wrote the first draft in 5 weeks,
Wow.
which is not my usual, to be clear.
Yeah. You can expect like 17 more books from Marisa
Yeah,
this
I
year.
have
So
95 books by tomorrow. Don't worry, it's fine.
that's awesome though. Yeah, I really want like yeah, Jonathan had he had a class open up online and
Yeah.
he had like 3 spots, like people bailed. And I'm like, this was
Oh,
like probably this had to be like 4 or 6 weeks ago. And I'm like, I could not do a 3 month like intensive right now. Like I just can't. I was like,
yeah.
but it hurts so bad to exit out of that. You know what I mean? Like that
Mhm.
email. I'm like, oh
Like, but I
God. Like,
want it.
yeah, yeah. I told my wife, and I'm like trying to set stuff up for next year where I could do that, something like that.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I have like a digital art thing that I'm like trying to sign up for, like these courses here. Yeah, I'm trying to get back so I can like do my own covers and stuff. No offense to anybody else, but I used to be an artist, so
Yeah, I mean that's
you
pretty
know.
cool. Yeah.
And I love it. Like I got Tom Edwards, I believe by now I can say this, that he's gonna redo my cover
Nice.
for my novella. So we were able
Yes.
to figure some stuff out. So he's sending me like the contract and everything. So I believe by
So
now when
cool.
this comes out, I can,
It'll be
it'll be
done. Yeah.
signed. Yeah. But it's not gonna be till like August. So
Mhm.
that gives me plenty of time because I had no time to finish my story. But yeah, but I was like so bummed. I saw the post. I had to like exit. I was like, oh no. So I'm gonna try and get him. I'm gonna try and get him on here this summer
Okay.
at some point, or yeah, see if we can do something. But yeah, I'm really
He's
jealous.
so great. Yeah, it was amazing. Like it was one of those things while you're in it, how lucky you are, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's really cool.
Super cool. Well,
Yeah,
I'm really jealous. So,
fair.
um, now I gotta say, like, yeah. So I love the tagline, love the cover.
Thanks. Thanks.
You have me at Thief, or Score, either one.
Yeah.
I love fantasy Thief, right?
Me
Like,
too. Yes.
I don't know if you have ever read the Dragonlance, like the Wayward Knights with like Sir Pervin the
Yes.
Wayward.
A
Oh my
long time
God, like,
ago. But yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I read all five of them. I tracked them down. I think I was like in early high school. I loved them. So, and it was like there was so many rogues, right? Like Han
Yeah.
Solo, like you name it, right?
Right.
Like
Yes.
I'm a rogue fan, you know. My wife, she laughs. She goes, "You don't agree with breaking the law or find that romantic?" She goes, "But if it's in a book, it's." I'm like, "Yeah,
It's
it's so
fine.
fine." Yeah,
Totally
yeah,
different. You
yeah,
can
yeah,
see all the motivations. It all makes sense.
yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
very different.
Yeah, yeah. I love the redemption arcs, you know, stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know, but that had me there.
Nice.
But it did. I was really interested, you know, in terms of like the world building. So
Yeah,
I was just curious, like how. So you gave us a little bit like the story, but I'm
I
curious,
did.
like
Yeah.
how you went, and you talked a little bit about the world, right, being
Hmm.
different than you know,
Hmm.
London and stuff. I too like a secondary fantasy world. It's just my jam from D&D, right?
Yeah,
Um,
right.
but how did you go about world building for this book? And I'm really curious, like what did you focus on the most?
Yes. So, as you may imagine from the title, A Plague of Magic, magic isn't necessarily good. It's not necessarily bad. So, in this world, there was a giant world-ending cataclysm 400 years ago. Civilization, as everyone knew it, was wiped out. So we are 400 years later. Magic is outlawed, and people have started to pull themselves back together. So the first thing I built in my head was Broadside, which is the city that Seema lives in. And I really thought about like, okay, the world ended 400 years ago. Like society fell apart, and you used to have a society deeply dependent on magic. So you don't have to develop engines because magic is going to take you places. You don't have to do elevators because magic is going to do stuff. You don't even have to have like good food lines because magic is going to help you transport, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
so that's all gone. They had to rebuild from scratch.
Hmm.
And so I was like, about how many years do we think that would take? And so it's like roughly 400. That's where we're gonna bring this in.
Yeah.
Long enough that most people are like, magic isn't even real. Like these are all just stories. This isn't a thing. And so I have done a lot of thinking about the broader world, but the characters have not because they are very isolated. There are three cities that have rebuilt themselves on this like not it's not actually the Mediterranean, but like roughly like a Mediterranean archipelago kind of thing where you've got like a smaller ocean and then you've got some lands on either side. And so these three cities have pulled themselves together again, and they have a very tight treaty to keep magic out, and they will
Hmm.
defend each other against magic, etc. Um, and many things came from that. Like, how do we make sure that the magic doesn't come
Oh,
in?
okay.
What does that mean to like a general citizen who doesn't even really know if there are other places outside and it doesn't matter to them?
Yeah.
So the city has been described. So Melissa Olthoff, who was recently here talking about her awesome book Rise from Ruin, she described it as kind of arcane like the TV show
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Arcane.
Oh,
So
it's
with
cool.
like you've got like a class that's doing really well, and then you've got your underclass who is not doing so
Yeah.
well. And that's basically the city of Broadside.
Mm.
And many reasons are true for why it's like that. And you find out some of them in the book. But so for my world building, I had to think a lot about things that there's only a very tiny bit of in the first book, because the first book is almost entirely in Broadside. You are entirely in two people's heads. One of them has been other places, the other one has not. Seema is a street rat. She's a thief her whole life. She's trying to go straight now for capital R reasons. And Broadside is all she knows, and it's all she cares about, and it's all she loves. And now something has happened that could affect not only every single person left that she loves and the city that she knows, but the whole world. And that's really hard for her to understand. And so I hope it's a little hard for readers to understand too, because they're like, wait, what is the world? Why do we care about it? Um,
Yeah.
because Seema doesn't really care about it. Um, so I had to think about how magic worked, which is like a plague. It takes magic to spark magic, which is how you can outlaw it. So somebody can be born in this world perfectly capable of doing magic, but if they never run into any existing magic, they're never going to manifest their gift.
Interesting.
So, so that had an effect on magical creatures. That had an effect on forces, because in this world, magic is a foundational force of the universe. It's an elemental force like gravity, like dark matter. Like it is a key piece of the world. And people shouldn't mess with it because they don't understand it. But that has never stopped humans in the history of time.
Yeah.
So
Or will it? Yeah.
never, never will. Not here, not there, not anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
that's awesome. You brought something up that I always talk about with some of my friends, and I want to do a seminar at some point. Like, because like when we read, my buddy and I got done with Malazan Book of the Fallen, where
Oh my gosh.
I'm like,
Yeah.
these guys, it was great, right? But I was like,
Yeah.
these guys have so much magic. And I'm like, I said to my friend, my best friend, I was like, it's gonna stunt like so like the Romans, right? The Romans and even the Greeks like had like right like had like 1/3 of their population was slaves. So
Hmm.
right, so compared to the East and the Middle East, like that's gonna stunt their growth technologically speaking by like
Yeah.
several generations. And I'm like, but that's not magic though. I'm like,
Right.
if you had magic and
Yeah.
slaves or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you would talk about even more, right? So I'm so glad that you brought that up because I always wonder like how people would, like handle that sort of thing. And I always find it interesting when people, like kind of take how they put that into their world building and the
Yeah.
kind of worlds that you get from that. Because to me, that's so much more interesting than just, oh, we have magic. Because I always want to know like how now you're compensating for that, in terms of
Yeah.
technology or society or whatever. Because maybe it's the historian in me, I don't know, but I find those questions really deep and how people solve those problems really,
Hmm.
really interesting. So
Yeah.
that's super cool. But I also like, where you said like, like it takes magic to spark magic because I don't know, I feel like growing up, like there was just something recently where I watched something like that where it was like, oh yeah, like this person didn't discover it was like a TV show or something I just watched, but they didn't like
Mhm.
discover they had powers or whatever until they came in contact
Something.
with something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, like I think that's really cool, and I've always liked that concept. I feel like you don't see that too much now, but
Yeah. Yeah.
back in the day, I would say, and things I was reading, I feel like it was there. And I just tired on a Friday, so I can't think of specific examples, but I know I've seen
Same.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love it though, right?
Yeah.
Because seeding that kind of thing, I think
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense, right? Because
Yeah.
then in your world, I think it's cool too, because it's almost like that would like protect you, right?
Yeah.
So then you can kind of hide or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And then I think that makes it a good story because then anybody that didn't know they had magic but that did come in contact with it is like,
Uh-huh.
oh crap. So there's so many cool things that spiderweb out
That
from
come
there.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's super cool. That's awesome. Um, well, now we gotta talk more about the characters. So
Yeah.
in terms of
Mhm.
characters, now that we're in it, might as well get in.
Yeah.
So, what were your main focuses when it came to like your cast of characters in this book?
Yes. So when I first conceived of this novel, I think you will enjoy this. I meant it to be a super fun heist novel. I meant Seema to find this treasure, fence a bunch of it, and then realize, oh no, I need it back. And so she had to like go steal it back, right? Like all over the world, right? It would have been so much fun. And then the more I was thinking about how magic worked, I was like, ooh, well, there have to be consequences and stakes, or else like, why? She got the money for it. Why is she stealing it back?
Yeah,
And so I was like, also, I really like a found slash forged family. Like that is one of my favorite tropes in the whole world. And I was like,
yeah.
okay, I will give her a crew. She will have a deep loyalty to her crew of friends and fellow thieves and family members. Um, and I'll use them to show the stakes of magic. It turns out that changes the tone of a book when you use the people your main character loves for the stakes of the book, or to prove the stakes of the book. So it is not, in fact, a fun heist novel. It is a little bit of a darker fantasy. It does end, hopefully. That is my commitment to all readers forever. Any book I write ends in hope. Um, so we're not here to depress you with the power of Grimdark. That is for other people to do, and thank goodness they exist. Um, so we started with Seema and her crew, and I could not get their voices all right at first because Seema was so clear in my head, but they were kind of late additions. So I ended up writing a couple of just like really silly scenes of them like growing up and some early things, like things that are not in the book, but so that I could get their voices
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I loved them and I loved them so much, and I hope people love them too. And then part two, Daniel, I got about 70,000 words into the book, which is about more than half, um, or around half. And I realized that I needed a second point of view character. It couldn't all be Seema. Yep.
Yep.
So,
Been there.
yep. So we put on the brakes because by nature of what is going on with Seema, which is a full spoiler, so please read the book and enjoy, she doesn't get to see a lot of the stuff that's happening. Like she can't be the one to see the things. And I needed somebody who was
Mm.
seeing the plague, like who's seeing the after effects and the madness and the chaos. And so here comes Harvin. Harvin is he so then I had to go back and rewrite a bunch of chunks and like add him in. Which is actually really great because Harvin was very clear on who he was
Mm.
from jump. He is an agent of the ruling council of the city of Broadside. His job is to stamp out magic by all means necessary, and really that means murder. And he's really,
Mm.
really, really good at what he does. And so he and Seema are, as you might imagine, diametric enemies. They are not, they should not mix, and they do. So I joke that my trope here is enemies to colleagues. They are not lovers, they are colleagues by the end. But yeah, so Harvin was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't know I knew he was going to be in the book. I didn't know he was going to be a point of view character. Um, and then I had one other surprise character, but I can pause there if that's helpful.
I really get that because so I'm like was waiting on edits for my prequel novella one,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm like almost done, really like same thing, 60% way through prequel novella two, and I had a secondary character, and she was like, "To hell with you! I'm not a secondary character. I'm a main character." And I'm like, "No, you're just here." She goes, "I'm in this entire series." I was like, "You're in the third prequel novella?"
Yeah.
She goes,
Mhm.
"Beep, I'm in the whole series." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "I guess you're in the whole series." And so then I had to go, but luckily I
Yep.
didn't have her. I have her like she's not in prequel novella one. Like I cut it off, right? Like Sarah and Holly both and Logan were all like, "Damn you! Like I want to meet this." And I'm like, "No, that's why, right? Like I cut
That's
off the
why.
perfect spot, so it will stay
Nice.
that way no
Nice.
matter what." So, but
Nice.
I'm like, I just looked at her and I was in my head and I was like, "Okay, I guess we're rewriting novella two and three for you." So I totally get that.
Yeah,
So
that
I
is
had to do a standstill for that for a little bit. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
you're not moving forward. You have to like go backwards. Yeah.
Yep,
I will
yep.
say too, my editor at Bain, Griffin Barber, he's incredible. Um, or editor for this book, he was a cop for 20 plus years. And so one of the questions I had for Harvin, because again, he wasn't meant to be a point of view character. And when you're not in a character's head in a limited third kind of setting, I think it's easier to make them give the impression you want. But when you're
Mm.
in their head, it's really tricky. So I
Yeah,
was like, I
yeah.
need him to check out as like a special agent type guy. Like he
Oh yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
be
Yep,
he can't just be like Seema but a dude. He can't just
yep,
be, whatever.
yep.
And Griffin was like, "No, you nailed it." And I was like, "Yes,
Oh, it's
male
awesome.
approval for my male character."
Well, you want like a totally
My
different
girls
thought
are great.
process, right? For investigative, that, yeah, yeah, yep. Like Logan. Let's. There's a reason he has a pen name. Like past life experience, job, stuff like that. But
Mhm.
let's just say like him and JR. Um, like I have some things for like sci-fi, right? I have some
Yeah.
characters that like from a military sci-fi, it's like a mech marine thing. So for my son was born, I busted out as much as I could. So it's like around 55,000 words out of like a 80,000, 85,000 word book. Uh,
Yeah.
something like that. But I was like, oh, I really want these specialized characters. But it was nice. I didn't really know anybody at the time. But now I know people, right? Like I know
Yes.
like JR, he's like always jokes like I was just a grunt. But it's like I'm like, that's fine because I
Still
have a
just make
brain
it
center,
pieces.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then Logan's got particular things, skill sets from
Set of
his job.
skills.
Yeah, so I think it's hard, right, until you kind of find those people, right? And
Yeah.
but when you do, I also think it's interesting because then you can not only, like especially if you know them or talk to them enough, right? Like you can almost like start to shape your characters a little bit more like their thought processes. So,
Exactly.
but I still feel like you kind of gotta I feel like I have to find people that I know that can fill like those character voids, if that
Yeah.
makes sense,
Yeah.
or mannerisms at least a little bit. But
Yeah.
that's
Cool.
super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I like that they're the antithesis of each other because I
Uh-huh.
love that type of trope. Even if they're now don't become lovers and they're just
Don't become
colleagues.
lovers.
I'll have to. I
Just
just
become
want to. Yeah, yeah. It's funny though because we share that in common because that's like when my character she's like I'm a main character and then she like my other character main character is in the like the male lead he's like over here and he's like kind of like okay I guess I'm sharing the book now but she also like was waving her finger at both of us like and I am not falling in love with him and I'm like
That's right.
okay so
Got it. Got
yeah,
it.
we
Shoot. Yeah.
established that so I get that. So I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna give you credit though, but I'm gonna say yeah, like yeah, yeah. They're not really enemies, but they're gonna be like frenemies to
Yeah.
colleagues.
I think that's super fun too. Friend music. That's great. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to like that type of like dynamic. So I think that's awesome.
I am
One of my
very
favorite questions though.
oh, okay. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Which character do you think was the most challenging to write and why?
Oh, shoot. Okay. So, okay. I can't give you the real answer because it's a spoiler. So I will give you
Okay,
a
that's
second
fine. That's
answer. Yeah. Second answer. So Harvin. Harvin was tricky. So almost all of my point of view characters are female, like when I write, because here I am. That is what I
yeah.
do. And it's easier for me to get into my imaginary women's heads, usually. But men are people too. And they also exist in books. So I don't know if he was my first male point of view character, but he was definitely my most important point of view male character that I think I've written to date. And and he is so very different than most of my POV characters. So usually any protagonist of Marisa Wolf tends to be snarky, usually in denial about her feelings. I don't know where that comes from. And just like really focused on her goal, but in a very particular sort of snarky way. Um, Harvin, no snark. Harvin is all business. He is very serious because if he fails at his job, the world could end again. And like that is real. That's not like a made
Yeah.
up stake. Like that is real. And he is, like I said, very, very good at what he does. And that is like his central view of himself as a personality. I've never been a cop. I've never been in the military. I was a teacher, so like I understand discipline and like the voice and rules and whatnot, but like
Yeah.
his approach is just very different. And I really wanted to get him right. Like in the same way I have heard, this is very reductive, but in the same way I've heard male authors be like, I really needed to get my women right in this book.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
I really wanted to get him right. And so it was very, very validating to me when the couple of guys who have read the book, including my editor, were like, yeah, no, he is a man. He checks out for like the job that he is supposed to do. And his his arc makes sense.
So,
So yeah, there's something I was trying to be very responsible of.
oh yeah. Well, that's like I have like I have people that have expectations of my other character. So I'm like, and I totally felt good about it too. I was like, you
Mhm.
could be a lead. I'm like, I just didn't know that.
Right.
Um, yeah, and like it literally, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that fixes the first book because I have like both characters now. Because I was just like missing, you know how it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like, and it just like clicked, and I was like, oh, and then I had a couple other things click, and I was like, oh, this is about to be sick.
Oh.
But yeah, I'm like, I am really like, I said to like Hallie, I was like, I especially for her, I was like, she's got to be perfect. I said, not a perfect character, but I said like,
Yeah.
like she's, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I gotta nail this
Hmm.
POV. And I said, it can't be like, oh, here's Nathaniel, and then here she is, and
And she's
then
an
she's
empath.
just
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's gotta be, like, and I'm like, when I did that, like, yeah, book one, it just took a whole new turn, and I was like,
I love
then it
that.
was more fun again. Like
Mhm.
I wasn't like throwing crap at the wall anymore and trying to pick it up and do it again. So yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's nice when you can, do that, but you want to make sure, right, that that's why you're
Yes.
writing your character. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I totally understand that. Well, that's really cool. I'm glad though that you got that type of feedback. I have
Yeah.
been working for years not to be stereotypical, but God, did my female characters suck? Like they just did.
It
Like
happens, right? Yeah.
yeah.
You gotta
And the
fix
thing
it.
is I looked one day, I'm so glad I had a friend. She's like, your female characters suck. I'm like,
Oh,
cool. I'm like,
yeah.
well, but I didn't like that because I was like, not that I didn't like the feedback, I didn't like it because I have read so many amazing, like Elaine Cunningham is like one of the reasons that I want to write. And like her female characters are just so cool in Forgotten Realms, and they're just so
Yeah.
like unique and strong. And I'm like, that's what I want, want
Yeah.
to do. So I was like, oh, I really got it. Like, so I like been working like a dog, So I get it. Like, yeah, like, I was like, no, this is what I want to do. I was like, this is what I want to be like. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. You want to definitely
Women
nail
are
it.
people, men are people. No one should be a
Yeah.
cardboard cutout. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. If I have a cardboard cutout, I want someone to tell me because I don't want,
Yes.
none of us want it.
Agree.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's super awesome. I'm like I said, I'm really, really anxious to, read it for, especially with their dynamic. I love a heist, and then I love those types of dynamics too. So
There isn't a heist, to be fair. They come upon the treasure. Well,
sorry.
there's a tiny heist. I just don't want anyone to get the wrong. I don't want you to be disappointed because there's not a heist.
Call it Brandon burned.
There's a
That's a-
tiny, very,
Yeah.
very tiny heist.
I should say I just love thieves. There's been like because there was one that I read. Oh God, I'm gonna blank, and I flew through it. It was like the heist was at the beginning of one of these Forgotten Realms books, but the rest of it was absolutely amazing. The book was great, but but I said to my friend, I was like, "Oh, it's thieves," and he was like expecting a heist. He goes, "The heist was like 5 minutes at the start."
There's just
So sad.
thieves.
Yeah, he's like, "It was really good." I go, "I just get thieves." Sorry.
Yeah. And they do one of the things because in a lot of my books, I have very like competent fighter characters, like assassins or whatever. Seema is a thief. She's a thief. So every time she gets in a situation where it involves fighting, she's like, shoot, like all of her best tricks are about not being seen. So
Yeah.
once she's been seen, like her bag of tricks is real small and she is
Yeah.
aware of that all the time. And that was really fun to play with too.
It's so much fun. I'm like going through small favors for Dresden Files, and like it's like it's been like one moment after another where Harry's like, and it's been such a fast-paced book. He's like, crap. He's like, I'm a wizard. I just let my staff to somebody. And he's like, I don't have this, and this, and now I have to go against one of my biggest foes. I'm like, yeah. He goes, this was stupid. I'm like, yeah, but like having him figure out those situations, I think it's really fun. Obviously for Jim Butcher after 15 books, but it's also really fun for us. So yeah, I totally get that. It's awesome. Well, if you could pick one character from this book to go on a heist with, specifically a heist, which one would it be and why?
Specifically a heist. So to go on adventures with, it's Ackles. She's my sunshine character. I love her. Every time she was on the page, I was like, I just love her so much. So just on the adventure, Ackles. An actual heist, it would probably be Seema. Like she is a real good thief. And she is very smart about it and she can improvise. So she's real good. Terrio was kind of the leader of their gang. Because she's kind of their adopted mom type person. But Terrio more and more over the years had Seema do a lot of the planning, mostly because the better Seema knew the plan, the better she could improvise from it when things went horribly, horribly wrong.
Well, my favorite subset question is why I don't deliver it to authors. For this one, who is the one that you would not want to go on a heist with in this book? Like, not at all. Like, they would ruin it.
Yeah. Okay, again, not the spoiler, I guess. So there's a spoiler answer that I will not give. And then I'm gonna go with Mish, who is like the little brother of the crew. They're all roughly the same age, but he is 100% the little brother of the crew, and he is such a showboater. So if you're gonna get given away, it's gonna be because Mish was like, feeling real confident and decided to do something dumb, and now we got him. So
that's awesome. That's a great answer. And we all know we got that one friend, right? That when you are coming back late at night in college, you don't want to, go back to the dorms with. Yeah. You go that way, we go this way.
Yeah, I'll see you inside. We'll catch up then.
For me, it was my brother.
Fair. It's it's often like it's that little brother energy, whether it's your actual brother or what, it's consistent.
That's so funny. Yeah, we had one time where we were coming back and I was like DDing people, and then my friend goes, "Oh, I'm not supposed to have people. The dorms are closed over." And I'm like, "Bro, my bag is my school bag with my laptop is in your room." And I was like, "I'm getting this bag." Yeah.
One or the other.
Yeah, yeah. So we like did our own heist, and oh my God, he like almost I like was able to get to a place, and get in and
Yeah.
with my friend, and I gave her a ride back. But oh my God, I was looking at my buddy, I was like, "You were the worst liar and worst like." And like the dude didn't even see us, and he like stopped and started talking to the guard. I'm like, "What are you doing?" But then like the door, like, yeah, right. We were like, and then like her and I like went that way, got the bag, and then we just avoided him and just left.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Forgot to text him for 2 days. He was like, "I thought the cops got you." Or
It was that serious.
yeah, I was like, I was just getting my bag, dude. So I would not take him. So I totally get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was definitely little brother energy too. So
Yep, so real.
that's awesome. Well, I'm really excited about this book. Like I said, the cover had me like right off the bat. I was like, oh, this is like such a old school like feel, and just looked awesome. Love the tagline. Blurb was awesome. Had me like from the go. So really, really super excited about this. Which is why I had to have you on and back again. So I'm so glad that we could get you, a solo one here. And we'll have some fun with, the other ladies come and join us too,
Yes,
really soon.
Carol. Yeah.
I like walked by earlier with my boss. I was like, summer schedule?
Yeah.
Like I'm waiting to hear from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I'm like, I get it. I'm like, we're waiting to hear about like 10 people on what
Oh,
what it
gosh.
is. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. If it was just her, I'm sure she would just be like blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's always
My life waiting on other people right now.
group projects, man. Like you never
Yeah.
you didn't know in school that you were gonna have to keep doing group projects.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. It's totally true. Yeah. I told the kids earlier today, like I let them they're like doing a final solo project for me. They're doing like an interactive museum display.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing like enduring issues and got to pick whatever. And then
Cool.
they're just like, got to pick their like 5 people, 5 events, whatever, and showed that it's endured. And then they're doing some sort. I had like the amount of things coming out. I'm like, oh, this is cool. One kid's like, I'm just gonna make a thing. I'm like, like you're gonna do something cool. Came up with the coolest thing today. I was like, oh, so worth it. But they're like, we don't want to do group projects. We see you guys running around here all the time. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's fair.
It's fair, but also like they're gonna just keep coming for you guys. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
Yeah, totally. Our college kids came back and they're like, yeah, that's all we've done is group projects. These little kids are like,
yeah.
yeah, that's why I was literally like on Wednesday. I was like, yeah, get used to it. Like as an adult, I was like, when you have a job as an adult, I go, most jobs, I go, it is a group project, no matter what you do. And a lot of them were like, well, I'm just gonna go work at McDonald's. I go, that's a group project.
Very group project. You were really relying on your fellow workers at that point.
Yeah, it's super funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to look before we started. Did you have a release date for Plague of Magic yet? Or?
I do. September 2nd. So, and that is the end of DragonCon weekend. So rumor has it that there will be some books available at DragonCon.
Oh, that's cool.
But the e-arc is available now. So if you want an electronic version that probably still has some typos in it, but is the whole story, then you can actually get that now at Bane.com.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super cool. I was trying to go to DragonCon, and then my wife's one of her best friends, last best friends to get married, decided they're gonna get married that weekend. So my wife's like, you can still go down. Yeah. I was like, it's too late. All the good things are happening and stuff. But next year.
Yeah, 2026. I like it.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, next year's my mom's 70th. So
2027.
Yeah. But actually, I did talk to my wife already. I'm actually hopefully gonna, if you and Casey or anybody, I have like the East Coast Avengers list that I'm like about to send an email to. So when you guys went to Boston or whatever, like I was telling my wife, I had looked it up already, like for the new dates and stuff, and I was like, as long as like the weather's cool, like I'm like good to go. So I'm like really, really excited about that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be super cool. I had a few other people too that I'm telling ahead of time that are hopefully tagging along. They said that sounded really cool. So yeah, so I'm hoping that we can get that going.
Boston, you guys.
Yeah. I'm like really excited. So at the least it'll just be me, but it'll be really fun. So,
It'll be fun.
yeah, it'll be super cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. So do you have any other news, updates, current projects, anything like that you can share with us before we head up?
I do actually. So I got my start in the Four Horsemen shared universe, Chris Kennedy and Mark Wandry, and they are kicking off the final arc of the main storyline this year. And Chris Kennedy and I are writing that book right now that kicks off that final arc. It's called Shades of the Past, and it is due to come out in July.
Awesome.
We are mostly done with it. And I don't think I could talk about this last time, but so for folks who are, what's the word? Familiar with David Weber's The Honorverse, my very first short story in The Honorverse will come out sometime the end of this year.
Oh,
The
that's
anthology is
cool.
called Challenges. And the amazing Tom Pope made my ship from the
That's
short
so
story.
cool.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
This is the first time I've shown it. I will probably, before this episode comes out, I'll probably share it.
Yeah.
You guys are technically the first people I'm showing it to.
That's amazing. That is so cool.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I've loved the Honorverse since high school. And so getting to do a short story,
That's super cool.
pretty cool. So yeah.
You said Dave. That's super
Yeah,
cool.
with David Weber. I mean, come
I
on.
was gonna say my skin. I got goosebumps instantly. You guys couldn't see it because my arms are down here, but I was that is super, super exciting. Well, that's super cool. If there's anything else, I can do, for like you and Chris, I told Chris, I was like, I am just slammed. I was like, I'm trying. But like, my thing is like, if I'm gonna, there were some people where I was like, they're like asking me for stuff, and I was like, I just can't. I just can't. I'm like, it's like I didn't know if we're supposed to have a meeting today. I was like, oh, and then it got canceled. So I was like, oh, we're still good. So, yeah, but I was telling some people, I was like, I got some cool things going this summer. So I'm hoping to, to have a couple more co-authors, like you and Chris and whatever for season 5 and stuff. So I saved the slots. I always save slots for veterans or, alumni, the podcasts, things like that. That way, we can come back and chat on, whatever. And yeah, so I think that'd be super, super cool. So you guys will see Marisa,
I'll be
hopefully a few
back. You're
times in
welcome.
season 5. We don't know who she's gonna be with, but she'll be with one of the co-authors.
So many cool friends.
Yeah. I love the anthologies too, because I've done a couple of those. Like the Advent of Winter, I had a few people like with Holly and stuff, and yeah, and I love anytime like I had Lee after that, I think Conley. But yeah, I'd love to get like more people, just to do like 4 or 5 and kind of go through that way. I love doing those kind of panels. So
I'm so glad you said that about anthologies. I have another one that comes out this summer from Baen. It's Jason Cordova edited.
oh, how did I not know that? Yeah, I saw
He's,
that.
he's so great. It's Dances with Destruction. It's actually my very first collaboration with David Weber. We have an original short story. It's not Honorverse or anything else. It's really fun. It was a very fun short
Cool.
story. So, and I think it kicks off the anthology. So we're just very.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super cool. I should know that because I literally just saw it like the other day
It's
when
so cool.
Jason posted it.
Yeah, like why is it not top of my brain all the time? I don't know, because my brain is just like.
I feel you. Well, that's awesome. I just want to remind people that you can find Marissa's links down in the description below, whether you're listening or watching this podcast. So please make sure you check those out. Book and social links per usual. Just want to remind everybody, please don't forget to review any products. Doesn't matter if they're for Baen or CKP or just Marisa by yourself. So it just helps everybody out. We've been talking a lot about that. Editors, artists, typographers, like you name it, right? It just helps everybody in the process. Audio narrators, things like that. So guys, please continue to do that. Marisa, thank you so much for coming back. This has been great. As soon as I get my schedule, like you 3 are like on my docket. So we'll do that as like a bonus episode. Doesn't matter. Like it's already in my queue. I got the questions and stuff like ready to go. So as soon as I find out, I will let you know. I'll send you again this release date for this episode as soon as we get done. But other than that, hope you have a good rest of the day, and I'm sure I'll talk to you over the weekend on social media. So
Sounds great. Yes. Thank you so
Awesome.
much, Daniel.
Yeah, anytime. You have a good rest of the day. I'll see you later.
You too. Okay, bye.
Bye.